Okay, good. I apologize. I was had one too many buttons to hit. I forgot to hit one of them. So welcome aboard, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. Looking forward to a great webinar. We're going to talk about RMDs, which is going to be very, I think, helpful and enlightening, give us some opportunities to have some conversations with some folks. Our guest speaker today, as is often the case on our Tuesday morning webinars, in fact, I think always the case on our Tuesday morning webinars, is Dave Pimper. He is a advisor himself, very successful advisor in both the insurance and securities realm, and also has Lazarus Coaching, a business coaching business that Dave has run for probably 15, 20 years now, and he has done pretty much exclusively done business coaching for IAMS for about the last 12 to 13 of those years. So it's been a great opportunity for our producers, a great relationship for us at IAMS, because what he works around are things that are really very pertinent to folks that work in our space, whether it's insurance or securities or both. So great to have him as part of our group. As we get started here, of course, again, my name is Steve Murray, the Executive Vice President here at IAMS. Glad to join you here this morning. I want to welcome you all and thank you for joining us. It's means a lot to us that you want to learn more about the business that we're in and how to help your clients more. And so we give a lot of extra attention to folks that are willing to take the time and make the effort to learn a little bit more about their business. So whatever we can do to help you along the way, we're sure going to do it. Many of you have chosen to join us here this morning, and in order to do that, you've had to probably put some other things aside, maybe things that you want to do or things that you need to do to grow your business. And so we appreciate that very much, and we're going to try and deliver value every time that you join us. Along that line, let's go ahead and get started. There will be opportunity for you to answer a couple of polls. If you can do that quickly for everybody's sake, that's always appreciated. When you answer a poll yes or no, you're not saying I'll never be interested or I'm always interested. You're just giving us an idea that you might have some interest, or right now at this point you're not interested. So it helps us to gauge where we need to help you more. So we appreciate you answering those polls as quickly as possible. If you have some questions, and I see a couple of you already popped up with a couple of questions, I appreciate that. We'll get them answered as quickly as we can as we get moving through here. So let's go ahead and get started. Dave will be joining us shortly if he hasn't already, but I wanted to give you a couple of programs that we do that I know that many of you are aware of, but some of you are not because you're relatively new to IAMS. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Referred Producer Program and our Marketing Reimbursement Program. These are very simple programs designed by IAMS to reward you for the good things that you do with IAMS. One, of course, is you feel good enough about us that you're willing to make us a partner for some of your business. So when you do that, we put money into your marketing reimbursement account. And the way that gets operated is that you just let us know when you spend money on your business growing it, whether it's mailers, anything advertising-wise, anything that you would look at your business and say, okay, that's a marketing expense. Send us that receipt and we'll reimburse you. We'll spend $1 for every $1 that you spend until your marketing reimbursement account is exhausted. So great little program that we have, a great way to kind of double the value of your marketing if you have an idea, something that you want to do and you're not sure about it, give me a call. I'd love to chat with you and see if it's something. There's almost nothing, frankly. I mean, and effectively we kind of consider it your money. So there's almost nothing that we won't reimburse. And I just like to have conversations with guys about their marketing and what they're doing. So we always like to have those with you. Another way that we send out some money on a regular basis to many of our producers is via our referred producer money program. So the RPM is a pretty simple program. When you refer somebody to us, if you call up a friend, or even if you just call us and say, hey, I think Bill would be a good fit for what you guys do at IAMS. I think he'd like your webinars. I think he'd like to come in for one of your trainings. I think he'd like to join us at one of the conventions, or he's not happy with his current FMO, whatever it is. You give us that name. We give them a call, and if they decide to get appointed with us, then we're going to send you a $50 check. Pretty simple stuff, but that's where it starts, but that's far from where it ends, because the real benefit to RPM is that ongoing little bonus that we pay you. So whenever they do business with us, Of course, they're going to get their commission. They get nothing changes. Nothing's different for them. But we take some money out of our marketing budget and pay you a bonus on that. And so we're literally sending thousands of dollars of checks out every quarter. Some checks actually go out monthly for folks that have a number of folks that they've referred to us that are regular producers. So we need, anytime that it looks like we owe somebody more than 1,000 on RPM, we're going to send that out monthly, and we just clear all RPM out quarterly. So you either get a check from us monthly or a check quarterly. For the folks that you refer to us. So the bottom line is that we appreciate your referrals, always have. 32, almost going down 33 years of business. That's been a major part of our success, has been those referrals. The fact that we say thank you is one thing, but we're going to do some nice financial rewards for you. We've been doing that now for probably 7-8 years, and those checks get quite large, and we're favorite checks to send out, frankly. We appreciate those referrals, and the fact that the referrals that you give us are doing business is just a win-win for us, and we know that puts more money into your hands for your business or marketing or whatever you want to do. So we appreciate your referrals, and thank you very much for those. For those of you aboard with us today that maybe not have done business with us, I want you to just take a quick look. There's 3 levels that you can claim a new producer bonus at. Take a quick look at what those are. And the reason that I say take a look, it might give you some ideas, but frankly, just about anything that you want to do, we've got kind of a dollar value, but anything that you do that to help grow your business, we're glad to participate in for new producers at a really, really high level. You can see that's a bit of a lost leader for us from our standpoint, but we're glad to do it because we know that once you get going with us, the opportunity that to work together obviously is going to be very good for us, and we think that we're going to earn more of your business with our good service and the other things that we do to help you. So we want to get you on board, so that's why we incent that a little heavily on the front end, and we appreciate anyone that is willing to take a chance on IAMS and direct some of their business our way. A couple things that we do. I talked a little bit about back office support, and you can read as well as I can talk. So what I'll say while you're looking at some of the things that we do is that our competitors basically would, if you ask them who's probably got some of the better service and who stands out there, if they're being objective, they're going to say IAMS. We do as well or better than anybody on that submission to commission process. We're going to get the business in, get it in there for you as clean as we can, get it through the process, keep you in the loop on what's going on with your business. And once it gets out of there, we're going to make sure that whatever needs to get done to get your commission paid as quickly as possible, we're going to do that or get you involved and get that done as quickly as possible. That saves you a bunch of time. It gets the money in your hands quicker. And we know that that's how a lot of why folks continue to do business with us year after year after year after year has to do with that high level of service that we provide. Part of that is 3-ring guarantee. You're going to call and you're going to get somebody on the phone. We don't have voicemail. We don't want to put voicemail in here because we want everything to be handled on a top priority basis right while you're on the phone whenever we can. Creative marketing solutions, really nice stuff that we do on a turnkey basis. Just consider IAMS as your go-to for anything that you might look outside for, whether it's business cards, brochures, Facebook help, website, digital marketing of any kind. We can't do everything for free because there's some of that stuff that's going to be, that has an inherent cost, but anything that we can do for free, we're going to do that. And we use a lot of marketing reimbursement to help offset some of the hard costs there. And it's an advertising agency for you that knows your business, knows people just like you do and just what you do, can give you some great insight and help with your advertising and marketing. And so take advantage of that. We've got some great people in there, and that's a department that is getting ready to expand as well. So take advantage of our marketing services. Website, take a quick look at our website. There's some changes that have gone on there that you need to be aware of. So if you haven't looked at it lately, give it another look. If you haven't looked at it lately and not sure what's on there, just call up your sales director and say, hey, walk me through what people use on your website, because there's a bunch of stuff on there that I'm sure many of you are unaware of that can help you grow your business. And that's really what it's all about. Informational forms, tools and resources galore on that website. So if you don't know what's on there, call your sales director and have them walk you through it. Retirement Analyzer, nice little tool. We make that available to our producers at no cost. It can help you in the process with your clients of determining where they are on their retirement journey and what they need to do to get where they want to be, 10, 12, 15 years down the road. It's a great way to take your relationship from a, hey, here's some money that I want to go into annuity, to here's what I'm trying to accomplish for my retirement. How can you help me? And that's a whole different kind of relationship. We make that available to you at no cost. If you want to see it and work with it a little bit, give Marcus a call. He'll get you set up with the user. You can get in, look at it for 30 days. If you want to use it, great. If you're doing business, we're going to pay for it. IAMS Wealth, I'm going to zoom through this. I'm not going to throw the poll up on this because I want to get right to the RMDs. Dave, are you aboard with us yet this morning? Not yet. So on the IAMS Wealth side, here's what I tell folks. If you're looking to get a 60,
I am.
Hey,
I am
Dave.
with you.
Good.
I was sneezing. I thought I better finish with that before I jumped on. No, I'm here, Steve.
Great. We're going to zoom through this really quick. I'm not going to throw the poll up other than, well, I will. So if you have considered getting your 65 and want to talk to somebody about that, answer yes to this poll. And I'll have Mike or Charles will give you a call and they'll tell you the process. If you have an IA, or if you have an RIA, but you're not happy with your fees and what they're charging you, then give them a call and let's see if we can save you some money on that. If you have an RIA and you're not happy with your payout, put yes on this poll. Mike or Charles will give you a call. I mean, these are all, this is a math problem, right? Are you, those two last ones are a math problem. Are what you're being charged for what you're getting, is it efficient enough for you? We can at least give you a second opinion on that. If you're not happy with your payout and you want to see if there are higher payouts will be available, give us a call and maybe we can get your payout up, because we know who's doing the hard work with that. We know that you're the one gathering the clientele. If you're not happy with the service that you're getting from your RIA, the same level of service that we provide on our insurance side, we provide on the wealth management side. Most guys that come from other RIAs are not used to that, frankly, and they're surprised by it. But that's just the way that we do things, and that's the way that we're going to continue to do things. So if you're not happy with your service, put yes on that poll, which I'm just going to launch right now. There's opportunity in that space for sure. We want to help you. If you're completely happy with what you're doing, insurance business is working just fine for you, that's great. Put no on that poll. If you're really happy with your RIA and everything's going smooth there, put no on that poll. If you're your own RIA and you're happy with that, put no on that poll. If you're your own RIA and you're wondering if we can help provide some of those back office services for you and make your life a little bit easier and allow you to be more profitable, put yes on that poll, and the guys will call you. There's probably, 10, 15, 20% chance that you might look at something and say, hey, that's quite a bit better than what I've got. It doesn't hurt either way to get a nice little second opinion. So thank you all for voting so quickly on that. That's awesome that you folks are so quickly answering those. I can see that a couple of you are unable to vote because you're just listening and not watching, which is just fine. Give me a call, 800-255-5055, and I will get with the guys and have one of them give you a call sometime here today. Okay. So with that, I'm going to close that poll out. Thank you all again for voting so quickly. And I do want to get moving on here. If you have any questions about that, ask them and I'll try and answer them while Dave is talking about RMDs. Okay, training academies. I'm going to put a poll up here again really quickly. Training academies. If you want to come to one of our academies and you haven't been lately, put yes on that poll. You can see what we talk about there. The key is, kind of the cornerstone is, we bring in top producers and have them go over what they do and how they do it and can help you build your business. That's really the cornerstone of those academies. We're going to talk about some product. We're going to tell you some things that IAMS does here from a marketing perspective that can help you grow your business. We're going to talk about some things that we've learned from some of our other advisors over the years as to what's effective. But really the cornerstone of the Life and Annuity Academies, you get to hear from some folks just like you that have had some success in some ways that maybe you can incorporate into your business and grow that, whether it's seminars, a product idea, radio, a new approach to life insurance, new approach. I mean, there's all kinds of things that they talk about. You may take a little piece of that idea and add, 10, 15, 20% income without doing much different and being a better service to your clients. That's a great reason to take a day or two out. And that's what would be required. It's a 3-day event, and we pay for your expenses associated with it, including your travel and hotel and meals while you're there. So it's no money out of your pocket, but there's a time commitment there. If you would like to be included in one of our upcoming academies, just hit yes on the poll, and we'll send you a registration form, and we'll send you the agenda from the last one. They change a little bit from meeting to meeting, but we've been doing these for 15 years now, and a lot of what we talk about, the gist of the things that we talk about is similar, but we're going to send you the latest agenda so you can kind of get an hour by hour deal. We'll also send you a registration form. When you look at the agenda and you say, yeah, that's something I want to do, you send that registration form back. We've got 3 more coming up during the course of the year. We'll call you and say, hey, Tom, this is something you want to do. These are the dates. This is the timing. And if it fits for you, great. If it doesn't, then we'll just call you on the next one or the next one after that. So there'll be a couple, 3 opportunities yet here before the end of the year to join in at one of our academies. If you want to be contacted about that, hit yes on that poll. Yeah, like I said, if you don't feel bad about hitting no. I mean, if you're happy with the way your business is going and you're happy with the sales and marketing in your business, that academy is not going to be a benefit to you. So don't be bashful about putting a no on there either. That being said, again, quick returns on the answers. Thank you for that. For those of you that can't vote, I'll just say the same thing. There's our numbers, 800-255-5055. Call for your sales director. Call for me if you like. Just ask for Steve, and we can chat about it. And I'll get you out the registration form and get you out the agenda and let you take a look at it, okay? With that being said, thank you all again for voting so quickly, and I'm going to close that poll out. Dave, I am not moving as fast as I need to, and I'm going to, hey, I'm talking fast here.
You are.
Yeah. So upcoming, we've got our event at the Ritz-Carlton. That takes place August 25th through the 29th. Beautiful area in Naples, Florida. We'll be on the beach. There's 2 Ritzes down there. We're going to be staying at the one on the beach and golfing at the one that's a little bit inland. Great course. Been some great tournaments there, so the course is great. The beach is great. We'd love to have you down there. It's a great opportunity for you and your guest to come and relax a little bit, being part of the IAMS family, and build some relationships with other producers just like yourself in really a nice social environment. We'd love to have you join us down at the Ritz. Okay. With that, I think we're on to required minimum distributions with Dave Pimper. So I gave you all a little background on Dave, producer, good sales stick for sure. But what sets him apart in my mind is not only what he is willing to do on the marketing side for his own business, but the way he's able to communicate it and systematize it so that it can be taken advantage of by our producers. We had some really, really great sales stories and business building stories around help that Dave has provided with our producers over the years. And so we really feel fortunate to have someone like Dave with his skill set and his ability working with our producers. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave, and he's going to talk about RMDs.
Thanks, Steve. That's right. My name is Dave Pimper in Fremont, Nebraska, outside of Omaha. So IAMS is only about 20 minutes away from myself. And ever since I started working from the fixed index side as a portion of my business, it's always been through IAMS. So it's been almost 14 years now. And one of the things that I do is I coach also with the IAMS producers. I used to do others. I strictly work with the IAMS producers and try to pick topics that can help you with your business, increase your business. RMDs, required minimum distributions. I mean, it gets complicated because there's lots of ins and outs with RMDs. What we're going to do in the next 20, 25 minutes is really just go in and kind of dissect the required minimum distribution laws, kind of regulations. And so you can be more informed when you're in front of your client and in front of your prospect. If you have any questions whatsoever, certainly go in and just type it in, and we will answer those questions at the end of the presentation. And this is going to take, give or take, but this is going to take probably 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes or so. So this is a brand new presentation also. So let's just talk about RMDs, required minimum distribution. So what happens is that starting at the age of 70 and a half, interesting, 70 and a half, the clients that you have, they're required to take a required minimum distribution, okay? So what this is for all retirement plans in general, not Roths, but conventional, traditional plans. And so what happens is that, and there are some innuendos, there are some ins and outs, but on a traditional IRA, individual retirement account, once you go in and you turn 70 and a half, you've got to go in and take monies out of that account at a certain percentage, which we'll go over here in a second, and then each year that percentage goes up. Now, there certainly are some caveats to taking out. If it's a traditional 401k and you're still working at that company, no, you don't have to take your money out. If you're still working at 70 and a half, until you actually stop working, are you forced to taking money out of that 401k? So there certainly are caveats. I'm going to talk about the majority of the time, kind of the rule of thumb, okay? Now, required minimum distributions, it can get complicated. And if there's a mistake made, meaning if you're late taking a payment out, the government can come back to you and the fine is extremely steep, very, very steep. So understanding the rules, understanding the calculations, that's very, very important when you're looking at required minimum distribution withdrawals, okay? If there's any questions, certainly just type them on in and we will take care of that. So this is only in the first year, but the year you turn 70 and a half, you can go in and look at what your balance was the year before. Let's just say your balance was $100,000 a year before. It's actually $110,000 now, but you go back to December the 31st of 2018, it's $100,000. And what happens is there's a percentage of every year that you've got to go in. There's actually a divisor that works out to a percentage. Now, the very first year, the government does give you a break. You don't have to take it out by the end of the year. You actually have to April the 1st of the next year to take out that required minimum distribution. Only the first year. Most people do not do that because now they're doubling up with a required minimum distribution 2 in the same year, which will, of course, will increase your income for that year. But you can delay up to April 1, the very, very first year, okay? Now, so you're going to take your account balance. It's $100,000, and there's a divisor that you're going to divide that by, which gives you a percentage. And so when you're looking at that divisor, here's what it is. So if you look at age 70, the divisor is 27.4. You divide that. So if you took 100,000, divided it by 27.4, you're going to come up with $3,650. The percentage is 3.65%. At the age of 71, it grows 3.77, 3.91. After 4 years, it's at 4%. If you look up into the age of 79, it's at 5%. And as you can tell here, it keeps going up and up and up. What's supposed to happen in the government eyes, of course, it does not. But the divisor, that division, it keeps on getting bigger, bigger, and bigger, that you're taking more and more and more out percentage-wise of your IRA. So it's supposed to be originally, doesn't work this way, but originally, when you die, you've just taken out your last distribution within your traditional IRA or your traditional 401k. That's what's supposed to happen. But as you can tell here, if you live long enough, I mean, if you lived 115, which 1 in a quadrillion people do, you're going to take out basically half of your money that year. So that's how it was supposed to be set up. My mother is 95 years old, and you can tell her life expectancy is 8.5 years or 8.6 years. She's going to take out about 11.63%, and it keeps going up and up and up. It's called a uniform lifetime table. And if there's a discrepancy of ages between the husband and wife, usually more of I think it's 10 years, then there's a single lifetime table that's used. So most of the people though will take a uniform lifetime table. Again, if there's any questions, certainly type those on in, and then Steve and I will take those at the end. So what are some of the key rules when it comes to required minimum distributions? Well, first of all, on traditional IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, 457s, not Roths, not tax-free Roths, but you normally have to start taking money out at age 70 and a half. You get a little bit of a break the first year. You can actually take it up to January or April the 1st of the next year. But what happens is that's when it starts. Now, Roth IRAs, what happens is that there is no taxes that is due to the government because there was no tax break going on in. But if you're married after the death of the second owner, then there's required minimum distributions on the life expectancy of who the beneficiaries are. They're just not taxed. Okay? So clients must take their first required minimum distribution by April 1, the year after they turn 70 and a half. That's only the first year. After that, you'll see what your balance was the previous year on January the 31st, or excuse me, on December the 31st. Then you look at where the value is at that time. You take it times the percentage, and then that money has to be out of the account by December the 31st of the next year. Okay, so you're always looking a year back for values, and you could take it out as early as in January, but a lot of people do wait to take it later on. Now, there are some caveats in your 401k. If you're still working at that company that has your 401k, then you don't need to take out an RMD. Okay? Now, there are some exceptions, as long as you don't own 5% or more of the company. So if it's a solo 401k, no, that's not going to work. I'm talking about traditional. You're working for GE, you're working for Kellogg's, etc. All right? Now, remember, if you've got 3 or 4 401ks, maybe 2 are dormant, 1 is live, what happens is, let's say you're retired at the mid-60s. What's interesting is that you cannot commingle to take out from one of the 401ks. You've got to go in and take out of the individual 401ks. That's not the same as an IRA. There you can commingle the money. If you've got 3 funds that are worth $100,000, it's your first year, you're taking 3.65% out when you're 70 and a half. You can combine the $100,000 and you can go in and you can take out $3,650. What happens if you have 3 401ks and they add up to 100,000? Let's just say that they're $33,333.33 a piece, equal down, divided by 3. Yeah, you've got to go in and take 1/3 of that 3,650, which is $1,216 or $1,217. That adds up to $3,650, but you have to take it out of each one of those. That's the difference between, say, a 401k and an IRA when you're taking a required minimum distribution. And remember, the very first year, you do get a break. You can wait up to April 1, but now you're taking 2 in the same year, which a lot of people do not want to put that much income within the same year. Now, you got to make sure you're taking money from the right accounts, okay? So just like I talked about, 401ks are individual. IRAs, you can group. You can all take them from one. If you have 5 of them, you can take it from all 5. You can take an equal amount. You can take a disproportionate amount. You can take all from 1, all from 2. You have much more flexibility with an IRA than you do from, say, a 401k. Now, this is penal, very, very steep. It's probably one of the harshest mandated rules there are around retirement planning. But on distributions, if you fail to take that distribution out, let's say you're supposed to take 10 grand out, got to take it out by December 31st, and by chance it doesn't come out until the 2nd of January of the next year, you're just a couple of days late. If you're supposed to take 10 grand out for your minimum requirement for your distribution, RMD, what happens is 50% of it is taxed for not taking out in time. there's a penalty of $5,000. That's penal. That's extreme. So you want to make absolutely positive that you're never late. Never late. In fact, we do our very last RMD withdrawals usually the first week of December. We normally don't go longer than that. Okay? That's one of the highest penalties that the IRS imposes. I mean, outside of fraud or outside of something that's illegal. Yeah. Now, there's exceptions to every rule. So what happens is that RMDs on Roth accounts, you're not going to have. If you're putting in on a Roth, there's no tax deduction, but it's tax-free as long as it's there for 5 years or longer. You're not required at 7.5 to take an RMD. And then when your wife, the spousal privilege, gets it, she doesn't have to take out an RMD, but the children do. That Roth, it's not taxed by the children, but they do have a required minimum distribution that they do have to take out. Okay? So it's a little bit different on the tax-free side. And in a 401k, one of the caveats, one of the interesting rules are, as long as you're still working for that company, you're working for XYZ company, you don't have, at 70.5, you're not forced to take money out of that 401k until you quit to work. You could take out, but it's not a required minimum distribution. Okay? Now, QLACs are kind of interesting. A qualified longevity annuity contract. They're truly not very popular, but for the right, I say it's like Cinderella slipper, for the right person, it really fits well. So here's what happens is, this is normally people that have large balances in traditional 401ks, 403bs, 457 government retirement plans, but you can take up or carve out up to $130,000 or 25%, $130,000 or 25%, okay? And that's whichever is less of those two. And then you can invest that money in a deferred income annuity. And what happens, you can defer it up to the age of 85. You can take it when you want to, but there's a stated rate, okay? It's a competitive rate, probably in the 3.5% now. Maybe it could be 4%. But what happens is your money is going to grow from a guarantee of an insurance contract, but you're going to defer that money. So let's just say, I'm making this up now, but let's just say you got a $500,000 IRA, okay? $500,000 or a $500,000 retirement account. And on that, from a company, and we're going to go in and take 25% of that's 125,000. So that's the max, because it's whichever is less. So 125,000, and we would normally have to take required minimum distribution on that account at the age of 70.5. But what happens now is that you're taking part of that. You're taking part of that, and you're putting it into this qualified longevity annuity contract where you don't have to go in and take money out of that until up to the age of 85. And it grows at a specific rate a year. So you're not canceling out the RMDs, you're just going in and deferring it and then letting it grow while you defer. But you're making money on the money that would have been paid in taxes. So what happens is, excuse me, what happens is that, what happens is, I'm sorry, I got a little something in my throat. Hey, Steve, are you there? Yeah, what happens is that you've got to go on in and really see how much money that you have in your 401k, because going into a longevity annuity contract, you're just delaying. You're not stopping the payment of taxation. You're just delaying it up to the age of 85. So QLACs haven't been real popular. Most people don't want to do that, but if it fits like a Cinderella slipper, I always say, you know, then it really, really is a cool way to go in, not pay taxes now, let that money that would have been in taxes earn that guaranteed interest rate from that qualified annuity, and then you can take it out really, you can wait as long as to the age of 85. You can take it out earlier than that, but you can wait up to the age of 85. That's called a qualified longevity annuity contract. And again, if you have questions on this, certainly type those on in, and I will answer those here at the end of the presentation. So, contributing to a Roth IRA and converting traditional IRAs to Roth IRAs can delay the RMD. So what happens is, just remember, there is no RMDs until the death of the spouse, the second owner, on a Roth IRA. You have to pay taxes coming out of the traditional, but there is no required minimum distributions until both the owner and then if there was the owner's spouse, both of those dies. There's still no taxation, but of course there is required minimum distributions. Okay? If there's any questions, certainly type them on in. We'll take them here at the end. Now, what happens is for clients with the Roth 401k. Now, not everyone, there isn't a lot of Roth options on 401ks. They're getting to be more popular, but you can roll that over into a Roth IRA, just like a traditional 401k, rolling it over into a traditional IRA. Okay? So there's some rules. I mean, you have to be at least 59.5 or older. You've got to go in. The IRA needed to be there at least 5 years to have that tax-free solution to it. But there are options when it comes in to required minimum distributions. All right? Now, there's a lot of information kind of within this category, and there are some really good books talking about Roth and Roth conversions. I mean, in a year's time, I probably do 4, 5, 6 Roth conversions. But for most people, they not just to not have that taxation for themselves, but not have the taxation when they roll that over to their children either, because it rolls over into a tax-free Roth. Okay, so it goes from being tax-free, rolls into the beneficiaries of tax-free also. So one of the things is that it doesn't have to, you don't have to cash out most of the time. You can roll over in kind. So if you're in a taxable brokerage account, and you've got a conversion, okay? So what happens is that you're taking that money from a taxable account, and you're going to go in and you want to move that over to a tax-free Roth IRA. What happens is, or a rollover IRA, what happens is many times, not always, but many times you can do that in kind. Okay? So what happens, the date you transfer the money is the date of that they're going to go in and figure out the cost basis of the taxable account. All right? So what happens is, let's just say that you're rolling over $10,000 and it's going from a tax-deferred account, it's going into rolling on over into a tax-free Roth account. What happens is that there's going to be taxes owed on that $10,000, but all of a sudden now, which you really need to pay that outside the investment itself. It doesn't really work when you take it from the investment, because then it takes so long for it to gain back to even. But it's a taxable event. You'd need to pay taxes on that. But here from there on out, now all of a sudden that security, whether it be a mutual fund, a stock, whether it be an annuity, yeah, it's tax free now, not just tax deferred. So it's a pretty cool way to go on in and to move that monies on over. When you're talking about required minimum distributions, just remember this: is that when you go in and you're looking at RMDs, okay, that at 70.5, and that's kind of an odd age, but the government uses 59.5, as far as when you look at IRAs, like you take money out without a 10% penalty. They do the same thing with this also, but they're forcing. Why does the government force you to take money out of from IRAs. Well, they force you because they want that taxation on it. With a Roth, there is no taxation, but you're not getting the deduction in the beginning. There's no doubt that traditional is still much more, it's just much more familiar. It's much more used, much more available than what Roths, than what you know, from a Roth standpoint. But required minimum distributions, yeah, what the government wants is that money back in circulation again. And if you don't have to pay taxes on that, that'd be a pretty sweet thing. Okay, so special rules for surviving spouses. Well, let me just say this: if you're a surviving spouse and you can go in, and let's say that there's already a Roth IRA that's set up in the Mister's name, in the male's name. He dies, his wife is the primary beneficiary. That Roth IRA goes over and becomes a non-taxable event. So that's from a tax-free standpoint. What happens if she's the primary beneficiary on a conventional IRA? Okay, so what happens is that there's a lot of rules when it comes into surviving spouses. And so if you look at the one there, says any surviving spouse who is designated beneficiary may elect to roll over the descendant's IRA or plan into their own IRA or their own plan account. Well, that's important. That's very, very important. So then what happens is you're going in, and if that spouse is younger, they do not have RMDs, required minimum distributions, until they turn 70 and a half. So if you have a much younger spouse and it rolls over to them, you know, then it could be many, many more years before there is a tax consequence, you know, from within that monies. So there's a lot of rules, there's a lot of regulations, but what happens is that it's important that you know what those rules and what those regulations are. If you haven't gone in and read kind of different books, different information on RMDs, on Roths, on traditional, I mean, I think it's important to really get the feeling, you know, of what's available for your client and prospects. So there are aggregation rules. So what happens is, if you're in a 401k, every RMD are calculated separately. You can't commingle. If you've got 5 $100,000 401ks, you can't combine those all together and take money out from one of them. You certainly can do that with traditional IRAs, no problem. But you can't do it from 401ks. They have to be kept separately. Okay, so that is the big difference between a 401k and a traditional IRA. Now, that's a lot of information. If there's any questions, we're certainly going to take questions here. But you know what happens? There's a 401k IRA rollover workshop that I have, and I've done almost 500 workshops. I think it's 400. The last one was on last Thursday. I think that was my 493rd public workshop. But we certainly go through, not in this kind of depth, but we certainly go through a lot of information on required minimum distributions and about the ins and the outs, and then kind of how from a Roth standpoint, that there aren't RMDs until both of the owners die. We go through that. And you know what? When you're educating somebody about a specific topic, a retirement topic, they view you as the expert. So if you've got any interest in more questions answered on RMDs, we're going to have a poll come up here in a couple slides that you can certainly mark yes. We can talk about RMDs. We can talk about seminar marketing with RMDs and the retirement plan in general. But what happens is that these types of seminars are educational in nature. They certainly aren't pushing a specific product. And what happens is that there's a lot of seminar systems out there. I put this together. I had a FINRA review on it. It is there to go in and really kind of just bring up ideas that, hey, maybe we want to go on in and just take a look at this and see what's available. Okay? So if there's any other questions, what we're going to do here is we're going to go on in. And Steve, what I'd like you to do is to launch the poll, if we could. And if there's an interest of getting together with me on the phone, just mark yes, and then one of my administrators or my 3 administrators, Lynn, Lori, will go in, or Amy will go in and give you a call, and then we can discuss any questions that you have, and we'll just kind of take it from there. But we're going to launch this poll, if you can, Steve. If you'd like to get more information on required minimum distributions, 401k IRA seminar in general, and Steve, I'm going to take it to you and see if there are any questions here that we need to answer and help some folks with.
Oh, Dave, there are questions upon questions, so that's good. Before we get into those, I will put in just a thought. As we all know, there's not a lot of things, not a lot of financial watershed moments in people's lives. 59 and a half is a big one. A lot of people might say, that Social Security claiming time between 62 and 70, that's spread out a little bit. 70 and a half is like a 59 and a half in some ways. There's decisions that have to be made. So there's a lot of opportunity to do marketing and present yourself to people at just the right time with just the right information. So I'm glad that you all joined us here today. Dave can be a great help to you in that, and we're glad to facilitate that any way that we can. So we'd love to have you check yes on that poll if you want some additional information while you're thinking about it more. If you need to think about it more, we're going to answer just a whole bunch of questions. So the first one comes from Steve, and not this Steve, another Steve, and he wants you to kind of talk about QLACs. And how that exempts people from RMDs. He had mentioned that he saw an article on it this morning in Kiplinger. So I know from my personal experience, QLACs is one of those things that gets a lot of talk, but not a lot of actual use. So why don't you talk about those for just a second, QLACs, how they work and how they pertain to RMDs.
Right. I think for the fellow that had the question, it's not exempt, it's delayed. So you are going to go in and you are going to pay taxes on that retirement plan, but they let you delay up to 25%. So if you have 100,000, you can take 25,000. If you have 500,000, you can take 125,000, up to a max of 130,000. It delays you paying taxes on your retirement plan at 70 and a half, and you can delay it up to the age of 85. So what happens is when you're delayed paying it, though, then it stays in the account and it continues to grow tax deferred. So it is growing. And what happens on a qualified longevity annuity contract, there is going to be a guaranteed specific interest rate, and it's competitive with guaranteed rates. But the big thing is you just don't want that, if you have 100 grand and you're at 5%, you're saving yourself from taking out $5,000, and then that's earning interest on it. So it's interesting, Steve. The government loved QLACs, and you've had them since day one.
Yeah.
But you know what? In reality,
we sold 2.
Most people, yeah.
Yeah.
But most people, I show it 2-3 times a year, and people like the idea. But you know what? I think I've only done 2 in my whole life. But you know what? When you bring it up at the seminar, it's an interest topic. People say, "Hey, I want to hear more about that," even though they may not actually do it. They want to hear more about it. You get them in and you get the appointment. But it's been around for about 5 years now, 5 or 6 years. And it's one of those topics that I think it really grabs a lot of attention's interest. But as far as the follow through, no, there just isn't very much. And it actually is not. It actually is a pretty good deal for the client, but it has to be normally a pretty large IRA to make it worthwhile.
Yep. Good. If you have any other questions, we'll go ahead and type them in. We'll get them asked and answered on the QLAC question. So I've had about 6 of you have asked for a copy of that uniform table. So I just sent a note out to everybody. We will send that out to the group so you all have a copy of it. Okay. When you use the QLAC, this is a question from Karen. When you use the QLAC to defer, does the RMD percentage remain the same or change?
No, RMD it remains the same, but the amount. So if you go in, say you got $100,000, and you're going to QLAC 25%, which is the maximum. Now you're only QLACing, you only have a 75,000 that is in the account. So if you're taking 3.65%, you're taking it from the 75,000, not the 100. So that's the money that you save. That's the money that you save. But eventually, there's a payday, but it's way down the road. So the money does not come out. The money's in a QLAC. It's in a separate, it's not in your 401k any longer. It is rolled on out, and it's in a qualified longevity annuity in that contract. But then that is tied to your 401k in that you cannot delay it any longer than the age of 85. So what you're doing is you're not paying now. You're letting that money that would have been paid grow, okay, not at a high rate, but at a competitive guaranteed rate, and then you have to start taking money from that at the age of 85.
And effectively, the way the QLACs work is it's a deferred immediate annuity, a DIA. So there's not a lot of flexibility. In fact, there's about 0 flexibility. And I think one of the reasons that we don't sell a lot of them is that I don't know that companies are as competitive with those as they could be, as you think they might be when they have, they know they're going to have the money and know how they're going to pay it out. You'd think they'd be more competitive than they are, but they really are not. So I think that contributes to the fact.
It's a great point. I mean, it's being honest. I mean, they are not. I mean, they still are competitive if you look at CDs.
Yep.
Or if you look at savings accounts, even 10-year treasuries. But when you're looking at what you can, if you can go in and get 4%, let's say from a fixed annuity, they're not going to pay 4%.
Nope.
But it's going to be competitive, but not as competitive as that, because you know what happens though. But you're also getting the savings of you're not paying taxes on that money. So I think the government looks at that and says we don't have to be as competitive because you're getting a big tax benefit on delaying that money. I think that's the reason why.
Yep, I think you're right. So this is a longer question, and I'm sorry I can't see the person that asked it, but on the 401k, if you roll that over into an existing Roth you have had for more than 5 years, do you get credit for that amount, or do you still have to wait another 5 years even if the existing Roth is more than 5 years old? So as a 5-year waiting...
Go ahead and kind of simplify that for me, Steve.
Yeah, I think what they're asking is the 5-year waiting period on a Roth IRA, does it start based on when the deposit is, or does it start based on when the original deposit took place?
No, on the conversion.
Yep.
So it's the date of the conversion. That's a little bit different, though, on an individual retirement account. When you're doing a Roth IRA, that's different. That reverts always back to January 1. So if you put it in on, say you're doing it for the 2018 tax year, and you put it in on January 1 of 2019, it actually on an individual retirement account Roth, it reverts back to January 1. So instead of 5 years, it's just 4 years. Or if you do it on April the 15th, it reverts back to January 1 on a traditional from a Roth IRA. Then it's only 3 years, 8.5 months, but not with. Also, once you start your first regular Roth IRA, not conversion, or Roth IRA, there's only one starting point for the very first one. Once you've gone past 5 years, and say you're Roth 6 years, 7 years, 8 years down the road on another IRA, it's instantly, the entire thing is tax-free, all the earnings. Not the case. On a 401k, if you go in and you Roth, it always has a new 5-year date. Everyone has a brand new 5-year date to start with.
Got it. Hopefully that answers the question that was being asked there. If not, type in another question. We'll try and get it answered better. So next question is, what is the IRS publication number on the Roth 401k? Do you happen to know that, Dave, or is that something you could get out to the group, the pub number?
Yeah, I think I will have to. It's something. That certainly helps, doesn't it? Yeah, I'll find out what it was, and you know what? I'll probably think of it before we're done here.
Okay.
So yeah, okay.
Bob asked, can we get so this webinar will be made available to all the attendees and anyone that registered. So Bob had a question: is can he get a copy of this? So you'll have it, Bob, in the YouTube of the webinar. So you'll have that available to you. Robert asked, how can you transfer to a Roth after age 70 and a half if you're retired?
Yeah. So when you're talking about a Roth, there is not going to be there. It's a conversion. It doesn't make a difference of how old you are. So there's not a cutoff date of when you can convert. You could be 100 years old and convert from traditional over to a Roth. Of course, that becomes taxable money then, you know, and it really, and Steve, you know this too. If you take say you've got $50,000 and you want to convert it from a traditional over to a Roth, that $50,000 goes over, and let's say on that $50,000 that you owe $15,000 worth of taxes. I'm just going to tell you right now, if you take the $15,000 out of the 50, that makes it really, really tough. It takes years and years and years for that to grow. Normally, you want that money to come to the outside. In fact, I recommend to my clients not to do a conversion unless they can have outside money to go in and pay for the taxation on it. Yeah, yeah. But that's how that works. Yeah.
And it really has nothing to do with the age. I mean, you can do a Roth conversion at almost any age, can't you?
Any age.
Yep.
Any age. Yeah.
This is a little bit longer question, and David, maybe we've answered this for you already. So it says, when you move money to a QLAC, what does the government use as your basis for RMD? And then he goes into an example, pretty much one that you use. For example, 100,000 IRA you move 25K, then the government RMD will be based on the 75K. That is correct, right, Dave?
That is correct. That is correct. Yes, it is.
David,
yes.
If there's something that we haven't answered there, let us know. So Tom says, if you have 3 IRAs and 1 457 plan at 70 and a half, can you aggregate these? And does it work the same way with 403Bs? Let's say if they're 1 403B and 1 457 and 2 IRAs, can you aggregate them all together?
Yeah. So here's what happens on that is, and I always look it up. I mean, I know you cannot with a 401k. That has to be separate. So if it's anything different whatsoever, then I go up on the government website and I just find out specifically of what to do. So I don't have that at the very top of my head. But you know, it's very, very important because different retirement plans are treated differently. But I do know, of course, the 401k. That is, you know, that is separate on that, and you have to take out separate years on that. So I can't answer that off the top of my head. I always go on the government website and look and find out what to do. And that doesn't come up too often, but when it does, of course, I want to make the right. You need to make the right choice for the client, and the burden is on you, so you have to be exacting on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Karen liked your answer on the QLAC, but was a little unclear earlier. So she said, in the QLAC example, 75K pays 3.65. So does the other 25K at age 85 also pay 365, or is it the current rate at their current age?
No. What'll happen? No. What'll happen is you're going to go in and look at that at the amount. At that time period, you're 85 years of age, so you delayed it. But at the age of 85, you're going to go in and you can go into the life expectancy chart, see what it is at 85, and that's what you're going to be taking out at that time.
Yep. So I have a 401k Roth. I want to move it to a traditional Roth IRA more than 5 years old. So the 401k has to wait 5 years from date of conversion, correct? That's a question.
Say that again, Steve.
So I have a 401k Roth and want to move it to a traditional Roth IRA more than 5 years old. So the 401k Roth has to wait 5 years from the date of conversion, correct?
They want to take a 401k Roth and move it to a traditional?
Yes.
Never going to do that. You're never going to go from. Why would you go from a tax-free account to a taxable account? Am I hearing that right? So are they talking
about? He's got a 401k Roth, and he's going to move it to a traditional Roth IRA. What would be the advantage?
You're not going to do that. Zero, because you're going from a tax-free account to a taxable account. You would never do that. You'd only be moving a traditional taxable account into a tax-free account to have the benefit of paying less taxes. You're never going to move an account. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but it would be the first one I've ever heard of that somebody says, I'm going to go from tax-free to a taxable account. So I think that's just completely backwards.
Okay. Well, it sounds to me like he's moving it from a tax-free account to a tax-free account. So it's a 401k Roth to a traditional Roth IRA. So isn't that
Okay, okay. I was thinking, I thought there was a taxable part on this. So everything is tax-free to tax-free?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, okay. So you're talking about, okay, just read that question one more time then.
Okay, so I have a 401k Roth and want to move it to a traditional Roth IRA. So he's already, it's a 401k Roth.
A traditional Roth. So yeah, so it wouldn't be traditional. It would just be a Roth IRA. Traditional.
Okay, I see where you're confused. Yeah.
Traditional is going to be indicating that it's a taxable account. Okay,
right.
I got it. So let's just knock the word out, traditional. He just threw that in there. Okay.
Yep. And so then the question is, so the 401k Roth has to wait 5 years from the date of conversion?
Yep. So here's what happens: is if it's done today, it's on May, not May. What is it? March the 26th right now, or 7th? Yep. March the 26th. So it's March the 26th. Of 2019, we've got to go in and wait until March the 25th of 2024. That's every non-IRA. So say it's a 401k, that has to wait 5 years for that to be completely a tax-free account. Now, the principal that you moved in, if that got moved out, that's all after tax money. You've paid taxes. It's just actually the earnings that would be involved in the taxation if it was before 5 years. Yeah, you just got to wait 5 years for that earnings to be tax-free.
Okay. Yeah. Just looking up and down the questions, I think we've answered. There's still some other ones, but it looks like generally we may have answered them. Now, if you're out there listening and you don't feel it, if you think there's something that we need to get back to and you've hit yes on that poll, that's certainly a one-on-one question you can ask Dave. I found him very, sometimes I'll call him and ask questions about things like this just for the same reason that you all do. He's very knowledgeable, knows where to find the answers. So very good resource for us all. So if that's something that you would like to do, hit yes on that poll for that as well. We've got pretty good participation in the poll, but there's still, looks like there's 5 or 6 people that haven't indicated so I know we're able to vote. So if what we've talked about today, whether it's 401k seminars or RMDs and how you may be able to use those to meet more people. If none of those are of interest to you, please put no on that poll. And if you want a little bit more information or just have a question for Dave and you'd like to set a quick appointment to chat with him, go ahead and put yes on that poll, and we'll leave that open. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Hey, Steve.
Yes, sir.
You know what? I wrote down, remember that question that came up maybe 10, 15 minutes ago, and it was about, where do you find kind of the information? Yeah, it's publication 590. I remember that now. Publication 590. So if you go up on the IRS tax code, you can, in that they'll have all of the required minimum distribution chart, et cetera. But that's what it is called, publication 590.
Okay, perfect. Thank you
you bet.
for that. So I think we should probably do at this point. Now we just hit the number. So everybody that can vote has voted. Thank you for responding to that poll. Appreciate that. I know that there's some of you that can't vote. So as before, if you want to chat with Dave or get an appointment set to talk with him about any of the things we've talked about today, give us a call at the office at 800-255-5055. I'll get you over to Dave, get you all connected up. And you can get your question answered as quickly as possible. But with that, I think we should probably, because we've gone a little bit past our deadline here, and I know you've got some things you're got some time constraints around, Dave. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you all. Again, as I mentioned at the outset, that folks that want to learn more about how to help their clients and do a better job for them are exactly the kind of people that we want to do more business with. So whatever we can do to help you here at IAMS, whether it's more training, whether you want to come into an academy, whether you've got some casework that you need some assistance on, I hope you give us a call here at the office, 800-255-5055. I'm going to put in just a quick plug too. We've had some pretty good luck with Retirement Boss Radio. So if you've ever thought about maybe somehow it might be something that you could do someday, somehow, some way, where you might want to get on the radio and kind of build your reputation locally, Dave has got a good package for that. And so if that's something you have interest in, set an appointment with Dave, you put yes on this poll, and he'll be glad to talk with you about that as well. But that's
and I'll say one quick thing too, just to piggyback that. We have a website. It's www.retirementbossradio.com. If you go up there, then we've got podcasts of our last 10 or 12 that we've done, but it's a radio, AM radio, talk radio. It's a great medium, and you know what? Really, and you know this, Steve, depending on the locale you're at, in the same kind of pricing that a dinner workshop would be. So yeah, that's certainly if you have information, go up there. If any questions, you can certainly give us a call.
Perfect. I think somebody just trying to get a last question, Dave, and I don't know the answer to this. This one is from Mike, and Mike asks, he has a 95-year-old client with an IRA. Is there RMD? What are those tables?
Is there an RMD? Well, yeah.
Where do they stop?
No, they stop at 115.
Oh,
you take 53% out of 115, and at 95, you're taking about 11.5% out.
Okay.
So yeah, she has to take, he or she, probably she, because gals live longer than guys. You know that, don't you, Steve?
Why is that true?
Because they elect to. Okay, so yeah, no, she has to take, like my mom's 95, yeah, and so she has to take about 11.5% out, and of course the older you get, the more you take, and if you're lucky enough, you're that one in 100,000 that live to 115 or a couple million, yeah, that's when the table actually take half of your money out. So yep, that's what it is.
Got it. Okay. Good. Well, and I thank you all. I apologize for going over just a little bit, Dave. I apologize for you. I know you've got appointments and things you're trying to get in as well, so I appreciate you taking that little extra time to answer the large number of questions that we have. If your question didn't get answered to your liking, I hope you put yes on that poll, and we will go ahead and, in fact, I need to close that now. We'll go ahead and give you a call. And if you just want to chat, give me a call here at the office, 800-255-5055, and I can put you in touch with Dave. Okay. With that, I think we have exhausted our slides. We probably exhausted our presenter, and we probably exhausted you all. So thank you for joining us today. Have a great finish to your sales week. And as always here at IAMS, we look forward to being of assistance as you try and grow your business. Just let us know how we can do it. Thank you again, Dave.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.